This is me. My name is Conti. And for the next few minutes, you'll be learning a little bit more about who I am and what I do. Born on January 15th, 1993 in Cheektowaga, New York, where I was raised the first 10 years of my life. Attending the same elementary school that both of my brothers did, Cheektowaga Central School District. While growing up, our family was very revolving around the sport of hockey. Both of my brothers playing since they were 3, I decided to join in the mix starting at 3½, where I continued to play all the way up until the 5th grade. But hockey wasn't the only sport I played. I also played soccer during the summer and baseball when I wasn't playing soccer. Managing 3 sports was a little bit hard, but as a young kid growing up and wanting to have fun, I made it very simple to do. In the summer of 2004, moving out to Derby was a little bit hard and frustrating at the same time. Not knowing anyone out here in the town of Evans, it became really frustrating when everybody had things to do on their Friday nights and their weekends, and I was just sitting alone doing absolutely nothing at home. For the first 3 years at Lake Shore, I really didn't have that many friends. Friends at school that I talked to, and 2 friends that I had to go over and do school projects for. Besides the ones that live on my street. Having 2 older brothers that were 8 and 9 years apart, I was always hanging around older kids. Most of my friends in Cheektowaga were all a year older than me. My sophomore year in high school, I started to talk to the upper class, which at that point was the junior class, where they became one of the closest group of kids that I've ever known. Since not really wanting to play a sport, I decided that I could do musicals instead, becoming the stage manager as a 7th grader, and my first play being Grease. That was a very hard thing to do. Continuing with Annie in the 8th grade. Of the 8th grade, Washington, D.C., the trip that every 8th grader dreams of going on, was one of the most greatest trips that I've ever went on. I'm involved in here at Lake Shore. Our student government, the musicals, orchestra concerts, the talent show, Mr. Lakeshore. The list goes on and on and on. Just like our famous teacher, Mr. Connors. The man does everything and anything at Lake Shore to make himself happy, and simply makes Lake Shore the best high school in Western New York. Having all my friends graduated this past June, it was really hard to move on over the summer and now start this year off on the right foot. But one of the friends that I have stuck with, and she has stuck by my side since freshman year, has been Jacqueline Furcano. She has a very special place in my heart and will always have that place. We know what we're thinking, we know when each of us has a problem, and we know when we just simply need a hug from each other. She is truly one of my best friends and will always be, no matter what happens. Top of the many things that I do at school and outside of school, here is just one of the places that I am involved in. Currently enrolled as an explorer at the Highland Hose Volunteer Fire Company in Derby, which I have been for the last 3 years. In January, I'll be joining as a full-time volunteer member of the fire hall. Being a busy person and a busy teenager, I still have the time and opportunity to hold a job. Here at Tops in Derby, I've been a cashier, a cart boy, and a grocery clerk for the last 2 years. This is just only a job to get me through high school and college. From birth, my middle brother, JT, suffered with a heart defect. Had surgeries for 16 years of his life. On September 9th, 2001, JT was admitted to Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh, where there he waited on the donor list to receive a heart transplant. At the age of 16, he was very scared, but the only words that he asked to his doctor was if he was ever going to be able to play hockey again. JT's favorite thing was to play hockey. That's all he wanted to do and all he cared about, and hoped to someday make it pro. His surgery was a success and recovered, and the same year as his transplant, made it back to the ice rink and continued and moved his team on to states. Moved on to nationals, in which they went to Washington, D.C. JT's transplant gave him 8 more years of life with our family. Sadly, on March 3rd, 2010, JT passed away. Always and truly be in our hearts and be deeply missed.